Curating the art you consume plays a big role in how you perceive the world. It influences how you see the world, and it's also a reflection of how you seek the world. And I think that skill of curating art is lost because of social media algorithms. The attention you seek is not just a part of your life, it is your entire life. Perspective is reality. What you pay your mind to is reality. And so if you're gonna spend all this time consuming, then it's gotta be intentional. We're all aware of the effects of doom scrolling. We know how much time we waste. We know how depressing it can be. We know that all the negative effects that come with it. And honestly, there have been people that have gone at length to really describe these issues. But what I really wanna talk about, or to narrow down in on, is the fact that how doom scrolling or short form content has taken away people's ability to create their own identity. Something that truly becomes unique when you actually curate the art you consume for yourself. Doom scrolling takes away intentionality. It bombards you with so much information, and you can't even take the time to really internalize and digest that information. This leaves you so empty because you're investing so much time consuming the content, but the content doesn't actually really do anything for you long term. There's a few ideas I want to talk about in terms of how we lack this idea to create the art we want to consume, and basically what it means to actually then build up that skill again. So the first thing I want to talk about is basically comparing like albums to like Spotify created playlists. When you get a playlist from Spotify, it doesn't really hit as much as getting a playlist from a loved one or a friend, or basically anyone trying to just get you to enter their world. Social media feels like a shitty Spotify playlist, some robotic, soulless collection of songs that was really all put together based off just a genre, but mainly numbers. To me, good art kind of seems more like an album. I don't want to downplay like what playlists do, but I feel like with playlists, you can't really get the story from it. With an album, there's a full-fledged idea, concept, or emotion that the artist is trying to convey. And connecting it to social media, I don't want to make it seem like there aren't people who have great stories and ideas that they put through short-form content. But when I look at short-form content, because it is short, people don't really get the time to really consume, digest it, internalize it, and then let it be a part of their life. There's something that J. Cole was saying in a recent interview, and if I have it, I'll show it to you, but if I don't, oh well. And he was basically talking about how people don't buy into albums anymore simply because, well, we have so much access to music. We have access to basically any song ever created. And back in the day, people would buy an album, and because they bought that album, it was like their way of obviously buying into that artist or that concept. And then they'd actually kind of, in a way, I don't want to say forced to, but they had to invest time into what they've purchased. Having artists access to music has not put people in a position where there really isn't any incentive to let the music sit and resonate with you. And connecting into social media, I believe you have so much information online and such easy access to this information. And because of that, I believe there's a real lack of retention of this information. If you buy an album and you think it's a mediocre album or a 5 out of 10 album off your first listen, you're still gonna keep listening to it again because you might be trying to get some type of return of investment. You might also just keep trying to listen to it because you have your set of collection of music, and this is something that's new, and because it's new, maybe you want to kind of preserve it more, put more time into it, try to get something out of it simply because there's a limited set of information that you have, or in this case, a limited set of music that you have. But it's through this method of letting music grow on you that you can really take the time to appreciate music, art, and you can let it be indulged, and then it changes the way you see your life. When you've invested real time and energy to understand what the artist is trying to convey, what emotions he's trying to push, what concepts that he might be trying to display, these ideas just stick with us long term. And like I said before, you can actually move on with this life with this art making an impact. Social media really struggles to do this because there's so much information out there, and there's so much just availability or easy access to this information. And because there's so much, there really isn't any incentive to just stick with like one piece of content, because you're a few swipes away from just getting an even higher dopamine spike, in the next video. And so fortunately, one of the greatest things you can do is to let the art grow with you and to let it take its time if you really want it to be a part of your life. Yes, when you consume art that takes a bit longer, you might not get the dopamine spike as high as what it would be with a very engaging quick video. But I believe that with enough time put into this type of art, the level of satisfaction kind of grows with the more time you put in. The second idea I want to talk about is how you can't even curate your own opinion because of these algorithms. With newspapers and certain articles, you can read everything in its entirety, form an opinion, and then keep it pushing. And then maybe you might talk to someone the next day and they might have a different opinion, and you guys talk about it, and that might have swayed your initial opinion. But what's important to acknowledge about what I've just said is how that interaction happened in real time. Getting your opinions challenged in person might put you in a position where you now want to seek out information yourself to try and either reinforce your initial stance or to convince yourself that their stance was better. Obviously, this way of media has its flaws, and I don't want to make it seem like way back then that the way that they were providing information was way better. There were a lot less sources you can get information, and so people that might have different goals may be swayed to then give you something else other than the truth. With social media now, there are a lot of people that, although they may be unknown, they're very credible people, and now they're given the ability or the opportunity or the space to then provide like real, truthful perspectives and opinions. And so it isn't all black and white in terms of what was good back then, what was bad back now. But what I really want to focus on is how with social media sometimes people are unable to create their own opinions, and they're solely or heavily reliant on how social media portrays whatever truth is in their eyes. And I find this to be dangerous because as humans, we follow a very, herd-like mentality. Very often, I'd actually find myself reading the comments way before the video is actually done. And I might see an opinion that differs than what I have. But because, it's one of the first comments, and because of all the likes that comment might have, I find myself just quickly switching that opinion. Even though, my opinion could have been right, but because I see the amount of people that have agreed with this idea, keep in mind, before I've actually watched the entire video, it's something that I think a lot of us do without even noticing. But it's really important to understand that Instagram comments is not a definition or does not describe the entire population. Instagram is known for adjusting how their comments are set up, try and keep you as engaged on their platform for as long as possible. Now, that does not mean that I think that any idea that differs to you and any idea that has a lot of people agreeing with it, these people are just dumb and they don't know what they're talking about. And the only thing that I believe to be true is what I have in my mind right now. I believe that obviously we should be as open-minded as possible, but also take the time to really challenge differing ideas as well. Don't be stubborn, but obviously don't be also easily as swayed as the wind, Social media, if you're not careful, can just completely and solely shape your opinions. And to give social media that ability is very scary, because then eventually it just shapes your identity. Social media has reduced you to numbers and equations, and they put you in a box. So growing up, I really only listened to rap solely until I was probably 16, 17, when I decided to actually try out and look at new genres. And when seeking out new artists and new music, I just grew and I just fell in love with so many different types of ideas and sounds. And these were things that if I had never gone out of my own way to try and pursue, I would have never known about actually liking these genres, about how I felt about these genres. If you don't take the time to step out of your box, then you'll really never know what you like or what you don't like. And I feel this same way with social media, particularly with YouTube, because it gives you a bit more autonomy to choose what you want to watch. With YouTube, there's so many sections and spaces in this platform that you have never discovered, you have never even seen or touched. But these spaces, these ideas, these videos could be the most entertaining, most intriguing thing for you to consume. But because the algorithm never gave you that space, because it never introduced you to that space, you will never find it. And that is because we're solely reliant on these algorithms. The algorithm, when you think about it, sometimes it might give you a video and you know what, it just didn't hit. And so you quickly swipe away because you're not interested anymore. The algorithm takes that as, this guy does not like this idea, and now that means he might not like this entire section. And then they will continue to put you in this box of the things you've already been consuming, the genres and the box you already like, which obviously as very, as humans that want to just kind of get a quick fix in terms of entertainment, works in the moment, but we don't get to expand what we like or grow to see what we don't like or what we like more. Again, these algorithms, they're just using numbers and equations to figure out how to keep you on the platform longer. They do not care about if you're becoming a more well-rounded individual based off the content you consume. It is just a numbers game. It is just equations, and numbers and equations to then get money. So after saying all these ideas, now the question is like, how do you create the art that you consume? The first idea is just talking to your friends and your family and acquaintances and whatever. Try to get a good idea of the books, movies, films, or even YouTube creators, whatever they consume, and try to get into their heads as to like why they consume them, why they like what they like, and see if there's anything there that you think might actually be interesting to you. There's so much ideas, content, information, media, that it doesn't matter how good an algorithm is, it can never lead you to that type of content. It can never lead you to something that, who knows, could be really challenging for you, but can also, produce a lot of growth and inspire you in different ways. The second idea is that within the social media that you do consume, like, it's time to cut the bullshit. There's a lot of content that we're attracted to in terms of just what we see at face value, in terms of the thumbnail that it creates, but we actually don't want that energy. Yes, it's very attractive, and yes, we can quote unquote be entertained, but we know it doesn't really serve us. And I don't want to say that, that means we should only watch things that serve us, that we should only watch things that help us grow financially and spiritually and mentally. I don't want to say that we can't watch nonsense at times, but I think for a lot of us, there is nonsense where when we watch it, after it, there really isn't we don't really feel good about it. It feels like a waste of time. And it's just time to just discern what is like good content, what is entertaining and, for you. And frankly, despite how you might like it, like, what is bullshit. Third idea is to try to live a life that influences the media that you watch, and try to watch media that influences the life that you live or want to live. Like I said at the beginning of this video, the attention you put into something is not a part of your life. It is your entire life. Consume things that inspire you to create, to grow, to learn, and to engage with others better. Life imitates art, and so hopefully art can imitate life as well. Thank you. My name is Mario. If you like the video, please like the video. If you like what I'm trying to put on, what type of ideas or concepts or I guess themes that I'm trying to present with my channel, please subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Bye.